Hello, we are live. I was trying to do this earlier, it didn't work. So welcome. And I really want to jump into this. So I've got three. Well, first off, it's been a while and I've missed you, and hopefully you've missed me a little bit. I've been changing my strategy up. So away from the daily uploads, and I actually created a course. I'm creating a course on Kajabi, which is awesome. But I've had a lot of coaching sessions lately that made me just want to do a live here on the channel and hopefully share some tips that I've picked up while talking with so many different entrepreneurs. So it seems like a lot of it really comes down to how much do you trust yourself when you make a list. I know that for me, I'll make a list of all the different things that I want to do better at, or goals. Historically, that list would include things like, get in better shape or study French or write in my journal more, whatever, right? Things like that. But typically, I wouldn't do them very well. I'd find myself months later writing that same list. So I really think it comes down to how much do we trust ourselves to actually do what we say that we're going to do and to work on those things that we want to accomplish. And over the last year, as I've been working with entrepreneurs, we've come up with some systems to through this process to help them feel a lot more confidence in themselves that they'll actually get those things done. So today I want to share three of those things that will make you a better entrepreneur and in turn help you be more confident that you actually can get done and accomplish those things that you want to accomplish. It's not something that happens overnight, but it's a process. And if you stick to the process, then you're much more likely to get those things done. So first off, I think, when you're an entrepreneur, or really even this applies to employees too, you are your own product, right? If it didn't have a bad connotation, I'd say like you're the tool, right? But we're not tools, but we kind of are. We're our own product. We have a special skill set, and the more that we can learn about ourselves and apply our special, unique skills into the workplace, into our business, into our job, the more successful we're going to be. So I think one of the best things that I've done to discover where I was strong was take the Clifton Strengths Finder test. So that's a test you can find online. It's about $20. If you buy a book on eBay, you can find books with the code for maybe around $10. Wait a few days, get the code, take the test, and it's going to give you 5 strengths. So when I took this test, my strengths came back as futuristic, activator, communication, command, focus. And what was interesting as I was reading about those strengths was I started to own them a little bit more. I realized, okay, yeah, futuristic. I do think a lot more about the future. Well, I always kind of had a sense for that, but it was nice to see that the test results come through, right? It's nice to see these test results come through and realize, okay, no, I am futuristic. I should own that. Not everybody is. And then communication or command, right? Like, wow, I love to talk. I love to work with people. I love to do that. I guess, do I love to do that more than the average person? Yeah, those are my top strengths. So am I better at that than the average person? If I work on it, I can be better at that. Yeah, okay. So it really helped me own those strengths. So I think each of us, we're really good at certain things, but a lot of times we have a hard time giving ourselves credit. So what are those things that you're awesome at? Take the test, ask your friends, and figure that out. Another good way to find out what you're amazing at is looking back at past experiences where you've really felt like, like things were in flow and you were in the zone and things were going really well. What were those things that you were doing where other people said, wow, you're actually really great at that thing, right? What is that? I think it's really important for us to own what we're amazing at. So one of the other benefits of that, and then we'll jump onto the second thing. One of the other benefits of knowing your strengths and owning what you're amazing at is that it lets you, it gives you a better lens to see what others are amazing at. Because if you're amazing at something, there's also stuff that you're not so amazing at, right? So for every strength, you also have a blind spot. There's things that you're better than average at, and there's also things that you're worse than average at. If that's true, then everybody that you're working with is also really good in a certain area. And if they're really good, then you want to help them do more of that thing in your business, right? And you also want to praise it and help them see that. So I loved working with strength coaches. Or strengths coaches. I took a 9-month course with Deanna Murphy from People Acuity, and I loved these people because they were so good at looking at what others were amazing at, right? And I think we don't give ourselves enough credit. We need to do that. So that's the first tip: is get clear on what your strengths are. And for me, I realized that, if I was a construction worker, I would be the person who did all the framing and making the big picture. I wouldn't be the finished carpenter, right? So figure out what that is for you and then own it and put yourself in situations to be able to use your strengths. Two, goals. A lot of people, so I was on a call a few weeks ago. How much time did you spend in the last year working on your goals? And the person responded, probably half an hour last year. And I've just seen that that's so typical, that a lot of times we spend so much time doing and working and being busy. We spend 20 times more time on Facebook, or hundreds of times more time on Facebook or social media than we do on shaping our goals. So I read a book called The Rhythm of Life, where this guy talked about visiting a classroom, and he's talking to all these college kids about purpose and whatever. But before he started, he said, look, what are your goals? What are your dreams? What are your aspirations? What do you want out of life? And he was really surprised that he only got about 10 minutes of conversation. A few people shared, but a lot of people just had blank stares. It could be that it was a little uncomfortable, but the point was, a lot of people don't spend that much time focusing on thinking about what they actually want, like what their dream life would be. So he said, man, these people would probably be able to talk for hours and hours about the education system, about education reform, and about what they don't like. But why is it that they can't spend much time thinking about what they actually want? I was talking to some 11-year-olds in the community at my church calling last week, and I said, okay, if you could build a house and all you had to do was write out a plan and just write out on paper what you wanted your house to look like, what are the odds that you would just say, build me a house, or make me a big, nice house? Or would you say, make me and this is where the kids started coming in. They're like, no, I want a house that's 5 stories. I want a swimming pool in the back. I want a water slide that comes off the thing. I want a game room. And in the same vein, how often, what kind of energy do we put into detailing what our perfect life would look like? What would the perfect day look like? What do we want what do we want our future to look like? What kind of house do we want? What kind of job do we want? What kind of daily routine do we want? It's worth taking the time to detail that. So I share the HATS model, right? The HATS model is a way to take several different perspectives, from the really big picture down to the nitty gritty, put those perspectives onto your desires, right? To create goals. So I did this for my physical fitness a year ago, right? And I've made goals my whole life, from goals that weren't all that effective to getting better. And in the last year, I've actually done pretty well. But some of the goals that I made for me physically were, my hope, for the H, for the HATS model, right? My hope was to be like Hugh Jackman Wolverine, okay? Not super ripped. I didn't want to be Arnold Schwarzenegger. I didn't want to be The Rock. I wanted to be more like Hugh Jackman. Cut, can chase after bad guys, whatever, right? So that was my hope, okay? So then what were my achievable outcomes? I thought, well, I'd really like to be able to do a backflip, which I got like 6 months ago. I'd like to be able to run and I think I put like a 5:30 mile. I'm tinkering with getting that down to like 5 minutes. Haven't, I'm under 6 minutes now. I still need to work on that. I wanted to eat clean and really clean up my diet so I had good energy. And those were the achievable outcomes I had. Tactics, I was going to eat better. I was going to start rowing every day, some other exercises, right? And so I created these plans. And just from that, probably 1 hour brainstorming process, it was really interesting what happened when, so it's been a year. What has happened since then? My diet. So I learned how to do my backflip. I'm faster. I'm in better shape, right? I can run a mile in under 6 minutes now, but I still need to get faster. I I'm more lean, and I'm like 10 days into no sugar, where if I would have thought, I don't think I would have thought I was capable of that a year ago, and not, honestly, not capable. I think we're all capable of it, but that I'd want to, that I'd be so converted to that idea to actually go off sugar for 30 days, right? To see. So there's a lot of power in coming up with a big framework, or putting your goals and desires into a framework, into an organized framework. So with the HATS model, it stands for hope, achievable outcomes. So those are the things that you'll actually get, right? Those are the goals. Tactics, how are you going to actually achieve those? Specifics, specifically, like how often are you going to do all those tactics? And you can also add obstacles and solutions. What obstacles are going to get in the way of the different tactics for your goals? And then what solutions do you have for each of those obstacles? If you put that amount of detail into your goals, there's a much higher likelihood that you're going to have them. So goals, taking the time to set goals. If you spent 30 minutes last year, set aside a couple hours and just spend time thinking about what you actually want. So number 3 is routines. I want to share with you 3 routines that I've developed over the last year that have really been pretty awesome, and I think that that you'll benefit from them. But figure out what routines you need, right? If you haven't read the book Power of Habit, I highly recommend it. That kind of helped me realize that I could be reprogrammed, and that a lot of the things that are currently hard could become easy someday, right? Through developing those habits. A couple of the main routine that we actually try to get everybody to in the mastermind groups that I run is, or one of the 3 main routines. One of them is take time every week to plan your next week. So I recommend spending 2 hours. And that may seem super long, right? Especially when a lot of people only spend no minutes or 15 minutes planning, right? But spend 2 hours every Friday. And I think Friday is a lot better than Monday, because you can go into your weekend with a great plan and you can totally unplug from work. But take 2 hours every Friday to just get clear about what your priorities are, what goals you have for the next week, how you're going to work on them over the next week, really drilling down into Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, getting really clear about how you're going to spend each of those days. During that planning session, you can think about all your different roles. What exercise activities are you going to put into the week? What family activities are you going to put into the week? Friends, anything else, right? But just take time. A lot of times we spend too much time doing. And I like to think about, and I'm not even a Trekkie, but I like to think about Star Trek, right? Like Captain Kirk Picard, he's like on the Starship Enterprise, he's in the command center, right? There's all these people out running about doing things. A lot of times in our businesses, we're out and about running and doing things, and we don't go get into the command center to think, what are all the priorities? What needs to get done? So this is a time for you to get in your captain's chair, stop doing, don't do anything. Just plan and get clear about what your priorities are, what you want to get done. And there's a lot of power. And if you're a one-man band and you're working on your own business, you may only be planning for those 2 hours a week, right? But once you leverage and you get 5, 10, 15, 30 employees, you're going to be planning a whole lot more. So you want to start to develop your planning skills from the onset. Offset, right? You want to be developing your ability to plan. So here are the routines that I've got. So the 2 hour, the weekly review, that's where you're reviewing your goals. I've also been avoiding social media way better, right? I love Facebook. I love social things. It's just fun to me. And I can easily waste my time doing that or reading the news, whatever. So one thing I decided to do after reading a book called Deep Work by Cal Newport, maybe 6 months ago, was I wanted to create time for distraction. So every day I have an hour blocked off to be distracted. And what I call distraction is really anything incoming into my life. So anything like the news or email or Facebook or LinkedIn or the stock market, anything that I'm curious about. So if I feel FOMO, like fear of missing out, I count that as a distraction. So anything that's distracting, I try to put into that 1 hour block of time. I'm clearing out my emails 100%. I'm binging on Facebook, and you realize, wow, nothing happened while I was gone. And I can spend 7 minutes on Facebook and be completely filled, content. Boom, that's done. LinkedIn's done. The stock market did its thing, right? And then it's been interesting because when I start that, I almost feel like this giddiness of like, okay, I'm going to be distracted. Okay, here we go. But then when I end, I almost feel like I'm bottling up this like bad thing and I'm moving on because I've loved the time where I don't have to do anything incoming. It's actually like amazing. It feels so good to not have to have the duty of looking at email or Facebook or whatever. And not everybody can do what I'm doing with email, but you could check it every day at 9 a.m., noon, and 4 p.m. and just clear it out completely instead of leaving it open all the time. It's been amazing. So what I'm able to do the rest of the time is just focus on my stuff, focus on creating, and actually making an impact. So that's been rad. The other thing was goal review. So every morning, and really goal review versus just creating time for yourself. So every morning, I spend time just looking at my goals. And if I don't have time to look at my goals, I play an audio on my phone. I made a 5-minute audio version of what my goals were, and I just listen to them. So every morning, I'll listen to my goals and kind of beat into myself that type of person who I want to be. I was never big on affirmations. I'm even doing some affirmations like today is going to be amazing. I'm going to live as if it's the last day of summer and make it count. Even just like that short thing, reading it, I'm like, yeah, today is going to be amazing. And then I look at my calendar. I'm like, is today going to be amazing? How can I make it amazing? How can I put my energy into all those things that I'm doing? So a lot of times we wake up and I say, not me anymore. I feel like, man, I'm really killing it with that lately. But we've all had times where we wake up and then we're immediately we have to go to work and we go and we never feel ahead of the day. Every morning now, man, I feel ahead of the day. Oh man, my face is so bright. What did we do with the light here? But I just get ahead of the day by creating alone time where I can just do my thing. And during that personal time, I'm reviewing my goals, affirmation. Gosh, a month and a half ago, I started rowing for 5,000 meters and watching movies on the Disney Channel in another language, which has been so cool. Today, I watched this old, like the World's Strongest Man on Disney, listening in Spanish, subtitles in French. It's just great language practice. So what routines and habits can you develop and put in there? So today we went over the strengths, Clifton Strengths Finder, the goals, the HATS model, routines. I hope it was helpful. I'm going to be uploading videos a day a week from here on out, and I'm working on a course. So, hey, I hope that's helpful. Thank you for being here, and I will see you on the next one.